Gamebreaker TV.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to GuildCast, episode 2222 for May 8th. You're watching Gamebreaker TV. I'm Gary again, and today we got a special guest to talk about some Guild Wars. We're going to discuss, I don't know, we're going to have a lot of viewer questions in this PC Gamer article, but all that and more. But first, Editor-in-Chief, Gamebreaker Editor-in-Chief, it's Mr. Scott Hawks. How are you, sir?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm fantastic.
Marvelous.
Good to see you again.
You too.
And from Massively.com, it's Richie Procopio. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good. Good to be back.
I'm in a new room. I'm in a blue room.
Blue room. Blue. He was just putting it up right before the show. He was like, oh, hang on.
That's right.
Drywall. And some guy who makes funny voices for a living. It's Jesse Cox. How are you, sir?
Good. Hey, how's it going,
Hi.
guys, people out there?
People are wondering who Jesse Cox is. You've been on Legendary. You have not been on GuildCast.
Yeah, as an avid WoW fanboy, I have been on Legendary many times.
Jesse is filling in for Elizabeth. He's got the hair for it.
I'm the woman today. Hey there, fellas. Ooh. No, I have a YouTube thing that I do. OMFG Kata on the YouTubes. I'd look it up if I were you.
There you go, OMFG Kata on the YouTubes. All right, I'm sure we'll be hearing more from you throughout the entire show. That's why I had you on. But last time, I should say introductions between you guys, because like I said, last time Jesse probably met Mr. Scott Hawks and Richie. Maybe your face was being kind of pushed down into the ground a little bit in some world versus world. You were getting a little beat up there, huh?
I don't know what you're talking about. I recall the night differently.
That's concussion.
You're looking.
Oh, it's a concussion.
You're looking a lot less prone this evening.
I seem to recall that we would have had the entire north of that map had it not been bugged and unable to be occupied. I'm just saying.
Okay.
I'm just sort of saying.
Okay.
Blaming bugs.
All right, we got a huge show today. I don't know how it's possible since ArenaNet's been so quiet, but we've got a huge show, so just jump right into it. First up, PC Gamer posted an interview today with ArenaNet's Eric Flanham. They talked a lot about the social elements of Guild Wars 2. MMOs are supposed to be social. Remember those days? Think back to those days before flying mounts. Way back when.
Oh, I was thinking.
I know.
I was thinking about it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I was too. I was kind of reminiscing and dreaming. But let's go through this a little bit. Lots of ground to cover here. Some new information, some old information, but let's just jump into it. So PC Gamer, first up, they said, so you'll be able to transfer your character between servers for free in Guild Wars 2. Can you give us some details on how this will work? So first, Eric said, servers and server transfers work a bit differently in Guild Wars 2 than they do in a typical MMO. First, we ask you choose a home server. The home server determines which side you play for in World vs. World combat, as well as which bonuses from WVW are available to you. Now, here's the interesting bit. I don't think we knew this before this interview. Correct me if I'm wrong. But Eric says, another difference is that our guilds exist across servers. Think of each guild of having a distinct chapter that exists on any world where guild members make their homes. So this concept of a home world is very important for our Guild Wars 2 players. Richie, did we know this, that guilds actually existed across servers?
That's news to me. I can't say for sure if they hadn't revealed that before, but I had not heard that at all. That was shocking when I read that. I think that's pretty darn nifty. I wonder if guild chat will actually work across server all the time, because that would be really cool. If I'm guesting somewhere else, I could still be in contact with the guild I'm representing. That would be really awesome. So he didn't go into more detail than just they work cross server, but I think that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that, I mean, it opens up so many questions. Like, yeah, how is chat going to work?
Yeah.
It makes sense that from the way we sort of experienced it at the beta weekend, and how you could keep track of people even when they weren't even representing you if you were a guild leader. When I was thinking that is what we'd have to do if you didn't have able to go across the servers is that when you're in a guild and you guested on another server, it would basically just cut you off.
Right.
Because so I guess it just makes sense that you can carry that guild across. It'd probably be more complicated to stop you in some ways, the way that the servers seem to be able to work with each other. I mean, you can carry whatever you get and whatever you achieve across servers, so it makes sense that the guilds are available across as well. It seems that they can cross the information over the servers pretty easily. So hopefully, I mean, if you can't have a guild chat while you're on the different server, then it wouldn't seem to
make any sense.
Make it a guild, would it? I mean, a guild still, I can't talk to anybody in it, but that's great. So yeah, I would think you'd be able to have a guild chat across server.
But the one thing we have lost is the anonymity, right? I mean, that's one of the big things with this, is that like you're on another server, you're with another guild or something. Everyone can see what you're doing. I don't know. What do you think of this?
There's a
we did discover that there's an option to make yourself invisible, which is something like EQ used to do way back when. And I remember when I first started playing WoW, I was like, how do I turn myself invisible? And like there was no way, and that was very jarring to me because I was used to like, I just want to be left alone now. So it looks like the Guild Wars 2 is bringing that feature back. You can make yourself invisible, which will help with that.
There's an anonymous option at login, isn't there? Is that right?
What do you think of this, Jesse? I mean, the other thing is, what we found out in beta was that it seemed like guilds, at least in beta, of course everything can change, were locked down to 100 players, 100 people per guild. I mean, this cross-server thing kind of reeks of like mega guilds, like just massive, but it doesn't even sound like you can have them.
I was a little, I guess I'm questioning what it does sound really cool. I'm questioning one, who the target of this is, who they're actually like, hey there, people who want to make mega guilds. I mean, how many people are actually out there who want to do that? And I guess, what is the point? I mean, what is the, why offer it?
Well, here's something that I found. I mean, in SWTOR, right, I found that I rolled on an initial server and was playing with like 2 or 3 people. And then like things got broken up a little bit and shifted around, and then there's some other people that I may play with, and they're on another server, and it's like, well, with this whole system, I could kind of be in a guild with all of them, and if these guys decide to quit or move on to a different game or something, I have like less friction, I guess you could say, to actually be social and play with my buddies.
And I think the other thing is that if it is fully you have a guild, then of course there's the mechanic of you would still be earning influence for your guild, I would imagine. So you're able to go and play with your friends on another server, but you'd still be helping your guild out by doing whatever it is you're doing on the other server, because that influence would count towards your guild, I would imagine. If the guilds operate across servers, then your PvP, your PvE questing or wherever it is you're doing is going to still be contributing towards your guild. So I guess that's the main sort of logical flow through from it, that you can go and play with some friends somewhere else if you wanted to, but still you wouldn't be sort of taking a complete break from your guild. You'd still be making a contribution towards it.
But doesn't that water down the guild on that specific server by having people flow in and out of it at a whim, going off and being with their friends here, and then I'm going to go do this there? And I understand that freedom is kind of awesome, but I'm just thinking, like, in a cohesive guild form, like, guilds thrive based on accomplishment, togetherness. Like, dying on insert boss name a million times is what makes a guild sort of get cohesive and form together as like a single unit. And I think being in different places I'm going to be over here today, I'll talk to you later, might lessen that.
Really?
I'm not saying it's going to happen, but there's a chance.
Does the server, because we've been talking about this on Legendary a bit and seeing what Blizzard has been doing with all of their, like, it seems like what they're doing with their technology, and I've been speculating for ages now that I think they're all moving towards a complete serverless, system where, Blizzard probably, I think, wants to move towards, you're not going to pick a server someday at all, ever. You're just all going to be playing on different shards and things like that, but there's just going to be less friction. I don't know. I don't see why this server really kind of binds the guild that that would be a group to go raid together?
I think what that whole idea of being able to be in your guild while on other servers, the alternative is what you'd have in most MMOs is if you wanted to go play with friends on another server, you create a different character on a different server and have absolutely no contact with your guild.
Yeah.
So the way I see it is this actually increases cohesiveness in that instead of that happening where you would just be broken off from your guild, you can still be in contact with them while you're doing whatever you want to do, wherever you are, and still be contributing towards the guild overall with because it's so important influence in all of the unlocking all the things and the builds for your guild that you can still say, yeah, I'm going to go over somewhere else and do that, but still my guild. And yes, chat room, we know you can be in multiple guilds, but if you want to be in that guild and you want to really contribute towards it but still want to go and play with friends somewhere else, you can do that and still be making a difference for your guild. And I think that's actually creates more cohesion than what the current one would be. I want to play my friends on a different server, but if I do that, I'm basically going to have to make a different character. I won't be even being able to communicate with my current guild and so on. So I think it just centralizes it actually even more.
And the only thing that kind of like is not, I don't want to say red flag, but a flag that sort of says like this possibly, we were talking about like this, this mega guild. The only reason I think that this may not be essentially the case is because he talks about these chapters, right? Like why would you even have those chapters then if you were just creating this one massive guild that had this communication? So here's where I could see where, Jesse, you have a point, is that, well, now if they're broken down into smaller chapters, will you now start finding these like little subgroups and pockets of people that just kind of stick together, and then is it stay that social?
Yeah, I definitely would not like it as much if you transfer your guest in a different server and you still have your guild tag and you're still associated with that, but the only people you can talk to are people in your guild on that server visiting. Yeah. That I won't like at all.
Yeah, that'd be counterintuitive. It really would be. Because then what it essentially is every time you go and guest on another server, you just created your guild on that server.
Right. And
it's like that would be pretty pointless. And yeah, Jesse, if that happened, that'd be I wouldn't see the point of that. And it'd be, as I say, it'd be completely counterintuitive to the whole idea of they keep talking about being more social. So if it is that you go over there and that just cuts you off in the same way, but you keep a tag over your head, that's virtually meaningless, really. So I would have to think you'd be able to talk to your guild across server. If you can't, and you're not doing that contribution, all the rest of it, then yeah, definitely, I don't see how that would really make sense.
Next up, they talked a little bit about transferring. So Eric said a player may transfer from their home world to a new world for a fee. The fee exists because we want players to make transferring to a new home world a very serious thing and not something that players do on a whim. Once a player pays to transfer, there's a 7-day period during which they cannot transfer again. I think most of this we already kind of knew, at least for us here on the show. But this next bit here isn't exactly new news, but I think it's important to go over for some of you guys who may not know this. They also said that you mentioned, Scott, guesting for a quick second. So they said a player may also choose to play on a server where they have a friend as a guest. We want guesting to be an easy way for players to play with their friends from different worlds. So we won't charge any sort of real-world money fee for guesting. Beyond that, we're still working on what other restrictions we might need to impose, and we'll announce more details when we have them implemented. I mean, it's one of those things that it kind of like, it seems like a pretty good system. I mean, do you guys see any possible exploiting or anything that could go on here with something like this?
I mean, the reason that they've implemented the charge for the full server transfer is to stop people chasing around after bonuses from WVW. I imagine, like going, oh, right, that server's dominating, and so I'm going to go over there now. I imagine. I think it's a brilliant way of encouraging people to pay for server transfers in a way, because let's face it, I don't know, in normal games, I don't go hopping around servers that often. I have my own server where I have the people I play with, and that's pretty much it. There might be one or two other servers I'll go here and there. But if you've got that opportunity, let's say you're playing with friends on other servers quite a lot, it's a way of encouraging you to eventually transfer your home server. So in some ways, it might drum up business for them to actually have people paying to transfer home servers when they meet people they like on other servers and go, oh, I like you here actually, and then pay to move over. So in some ways, it's helping you just go and play with friends, and in the long run, maybe it'll actually increase the amount of people who do permanent server transfers, because you can test it out when you go and guest somewhere else.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting two-tier concept. I don't know if we've ever seen this before. Does anybody have any idea? Have we ever seen a system like this where it was, paid transfer and this free guesting service?
Do we know the definition? I guess you sort of hit on a little bit, Scott, but of what guesting actually entails, because I am unfamiliar with that when it comes to Guild Wars.
Yeah, you can actually just choose to play on a different server. So the big difference, and this is the part we got to see how it wasn't in the beta. You couldn't try this out, but you have all your characters on a home server. You cannot create characters on any server other than your home. So at first glance, it seems very restricting and kind of abnormal. You're like, but they give you the option. Excuse me. They give you the option to actually play your characters on a different server. And it's a temporary thing. You're visiting there. You still get your world versus world bonuses from your home server, so you're not actually taking on bonuses of the server you're guesting on. And you could just play with your friends there, and then when you log off and log back in, you can be back on your home server. So it kind of gets around that issue of not being able to create characters on different servers.
I guess I'm asking, what is like if I were to join you guys as a guest, what are my limitations being a guest? What am I allowed to do? Who am I playing as? Is it one of my characters I've created? Is it something that's on there?
Yeah, it's you.
You're bringing your characters over, and the only restriction we know about at this point is you can't jump into their world versus world.
Oh,
but you can do all the PvE. You can do dungeons and.
Yeah, it seems like the only thing that they're actually binding you sort of like down with or attaching your characters to is what world versus world you're actually fighting for. So
yeah.
That pretty much seems like it's the only restriction as far as we know it right now.
And originally the way they put it, it was that the sort of way the early descriptions were that you wouldn't be able to fight for WVW bonuses for the other server.
Yes.
But I think it is you just can't do WVW on that server at all, basically. So as far as I understand it, so because we haven't seen the guesting yet, it's difficult to fully coherently form what's going on with it. Before it looks like basically all you do, you go to choose this server, your characters that you already have are now available to play on that server. You can go play, do all the PvE and anything you want with your friends, dungeons, whatever, and then go back to your home server at the end.
Right, and then what they want to do is they want to make that transfer. If you want to actually make a home world transfer, it's possible for a fee. And this next up here is a PC Gamer. They said, obviously your home server is an important part of world versus world battles. How will you keep easy access to server transfers from being abused by people wanting to join the winning team, right? So they said the fee should serve as a pretty large deterrent to people looking to jump on the winning side. Beyond this, a player is not eligible to receive any world versus world bonuses during the match that is ongoing when they transfer. Because of our matchmaking system, you can never be certain that your side is going to win the next matchup. So you'd be risking your money without any guarantee of being able to reap the rewards that came with the victory. So I don't know. On paper, this definitely sounds like a sound system. But we just haven't seen it. We haven't seen it actually work yet.
There seems to the flexibility they've got with the information across servers seems to be unbelievable. And from the server transfers on the first day of the beta, with so many people suddenly finding they were either stuck on servers from the press weekend, which was a problem. People were looking to get server transfers using gems, and it was like as quick as loading your screen. I mean, later in the day, it's basically thousands of people were looking to get transfers. That system got hit a lot, and there was a queue for a few hours by the end of the day. But initially, when it was like working as intended, basically, those server transfers were virtually instant, which I thought was fantastic, because it just shows just how they've got things in a row. I mean, there's certainly bugs to be worked out with it. The amount of strain that their servers were put under and the admin around it was obvious on that first day of the last beta weekend. But the tech all seems to be there and seems to be working nicely.
And it really seems as if, I mean, again, this is like, I'm going to go back to this serverless sort of MMO space. I mean, it seems like all these companies are starting to get closer and closer to the technology of just at least the world feeling just like one shard, where it's this seamless shard. They spoke a little bit more in the article about the guesting system, and Eric said, he said, our guesting system is something that's unique to the way we set up our servers, so I'm not certain how other MMOs would be able to do the same thing. That being said, I would love to see other MMOs do structuring their servers differently. And I mean, Jesse, you come from a World of Warcraft background. I mean, aren't you like, we're starting to see a lot of these like sort of ideas being implemented into WoW, where just the server is just making less and less of an impact on the player.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could say that. I still think in WoW specifically, it's still, there's a lot of server pride and things like that, and there's also the distinction between RP and PvP and PvE and RP, PvE and PvP. I mean, like, yeah, those are all different communities, and I think by going towards a shard system where everyone's sort of in one space and working within that, I think those communities, especially RPers who are very passionate about, that's a very nice way of saying it, but they're very passionate about their own sort of world, and that they don't want those bastard PvPers ruining everything for them. I think that is a definite consideration that companies should and probably do have going forward with that. Because you have different subcultures within your game, and to throw them all in one area and say, even though you're separated, you'll still be interacting together, I think will be a detriment to some people.
Outside of the Guild Wars community, because like Guild Wars, the way it's sort of set up with their structured PvP that's, in these closed off worlds and there's no open world PvP. But in other games, yeah, if they were to sort of move to this system, especially like a WoW system, I could see them definitely having an option at the beginning of the game saying like, what type of server do you sort of want to play on an RP server or a PvP server or a PvE server, that kind of thing. But I still think they might. I don't know. I really think that this is the way that we're going. I mean, think about it. I mean, the downfall to every MMO is server mergers. The world feels dead. Like as soon as like your servers start getting low pop servers and there's not enough people around, that's what just kills communities. And if that community could just scale in and out like a rubber band as it needed to, so that the world was always just vibrant with a lot of people, I don't know, I think that's where they're all going with this. I think the closest we've seen to a system like that, where we're going to have names, but it's not going to feel so much like it.
And from the apparent size of the populations on the beta servers, I think that might be the direction Blizzard's going with Titan anyway. Not for Guild Wars, because if I've got 50,000 people on my server and I've got to click on that bloody scroll with the panda at the start, I tell you, I ain't going to be happy.
They're actually taking it a step further in Guild Wars too, because the marketplace, their version of the auction house and stuff like that, that's all cross server. And the current exchange for gold versus gems, that's all, that price is determined by global economy, not server based economy. So that's another interesting step they're taking towards that.
And that's actually really interesting. I didn't even know that, actually, to be honest with you. Like, and I brought this up when we talked about the serverless with pertaining to WoW, and I was like, wow. The two things that I'm not smart enough to figure out, but that's why I'm not a developer, is how do you do a chat system and how do you do an auction house? Like, could you imagine it with a game with 12 million people, what that would be like? But you're saying that the auction house is global in Guild Wars 2. I mean, it's going to be massive.
Yeah, they do things a little bit differently in that you can actually post what you're looking for as a buyer on the auction house. So you say, hey, I'm looking for 4 of these ignits or something like that. I'm willing to pay this, and then sellers can go and just take those right instantly. So
yeah,
it kind of goes both ways.
Yeah, one of the best things about going to the trading post is you just go into your bags and you just look at what you got in your inventory on the trading post, and it says 15 buyers want this for this price. Thanks, click, gone. sold, and you just go all through. So it all works it out for you. I mean, if you had servers that size with, say, like an auction house, be like, I want to search for copper ore, page 1 of 6 million. Like, you know, it get a bit crazy. But the way that it's set up in the trading post, it really helps you bypass all of the necessary granular searches if you don't want to, by basically putting all the information in front of you and saying, okay, you can sell this, there's people waiting to buy it from you, or this is how much they're charging, so you can change it from there. The trading post, I think, is one of the things that people haven't really had the chance to play with enough yet, but from what I've seen of it so far, it's all the stuff that you love about some of the add-ons from other games is basically sitting there waiting for you as soon as you open the paint up. It's tremendously done.
Jesse, I heard you're actually looking for the Star Wars: The Old Republic trade network. That's really what you were hoping for.
I am. Unfortunately for Star Wars, it's that thing you mentioned about servers being empty. Yeah, my Sith Lord is alone. No one's with him. No, actually, I can't remember the name of the game right now, and it's sort of killing me. But the trade system and the auction system is very similar to a game I cannot remember right now. And wait, no, was it Ebony? Oh dear!
Oh my God!
That's not a good comparison.
Oh my God!
Well,
all right, we learned one thing. Jesse Goss plays Ebony. Confirmed.
Yeah, we learned one thing. I saw an ad with boobs and figured this game will be awesome, and it was trading.
Hey man. I've clicked on it. I'm with you, man.
Hypnotic boobs got you again.
Everyone has. No one was pleased.
No one will admit
Everyone
it.
was disappointed.
No one wants to admit it.
Greatest. People need to hire them. Advertise. Whoever is in charge of that advertising campaign, hire them. They're geniuses.
Maybe that's where Tara picked up some people.
Those were the designers.
Sorry, I went for it. All right. Also, like, kind of dovetailing with the guesting system, some of you guys may be wondering, like, you know, what happens if you go guesting on another server and your buddy is a different level. So ArenaNet's got you covered there as well. So PC Gamer said, so I can get to my friend's server, that's great, but what if we're different levels? How will rewards work when high-level players are grouping with low-level characters in low-level areas? And Eric says, so high-level characters who are playing in low-level areas still receive rewards appropriate to their real level. Not their bumped down or bumped up level, but their real level. The rate at which they gain these rewards is lower in the lower level area than if they'd be playing in an area that was equal to their own level. So it's basically on like a sliding scale, right? So
it's the same as... It's in there for WVW, isn't it, already? Because you can loot stuff. And is that correct? Is it to your your actual level? So that system like carries over not just from downscaling into different areas if you're playing with a friend, but also if you're in WVW, if you're really level 10, and of course you're level 80 running around there, if something drops, it'll be level 10 for you. That's what it's supposed to be anyway.
Right, but the rate, and just to clarify what they're saying, if I read this right, is that they're saying that the rate at which you will actually get these drops is slides depending on what the gap between your level and where you're at. So if you're a level, God, I should know this, but what's the max level?
80.
80. So if you're level 80 and you drop down to a level 10 area, you're going to get less drops than you would if you drop down to a level 40 area. Is that correct?
Right. Yeah, I mean that's what they're saying here, and you know I think some of that is a little bit new information. We knew that the gear was would scale down to your relevant level. So if you're a level 80 helping a level 15, you're still going to get level 80 type loot or level 80 type rewards. But this is kind of saying that to prevent any kind of exploiting, a level 70 character, is going to say, you know what, I'm going to have a much easier time in the newbie zone. Let me just go get all everything there. You still get rewarded, but they want to make it so it's less
there's an incentive to try and go after some mobs or closer to your level at least.
Right.
Does that account to also like your XP and so on? I think. Is that right? As you're gaining, like you still gain XP, don't you, when you drop down, but it won't be at the same sort of level of scale as you're doing if you're at your actual level.
I'm assuming it works the same. The whole reward system, gold, loot, experience, karma, everything will be sliding down.
Is this just
Natural
is this just like waiting for an exploit? Like, it sounds awesome, but it's just like somewhere in the back of my head, I'm just going like, somebody's gonna figure out the most efficient way to do this.
Get Mike B in there. He always gets those within 20 minutes.
But again, it goes back to the whole, like, what does it matter? It's not a gear-based system, so you might get something a little quicker. Oh well, but it doesn't really matter because there's not going to be this huge race to we got to be the first ones to down Deathwing, or we want to be rating 5,000 in PvP so we can get the best gear.
Yeah,
So,
I think the system kind of sets itself up for what they're trying to do. Is they're not trying to make you want to go down to those lower level areas, for actual gear. It's because they want you to just go experience the content and that just be there. But you don't want zero reward for being there. But
Right.
if you level up and you want, you started out in the Char area, you want to go check out, Holbrock. There's a reason to go check out Holbrock, and you can go do the level 1 through 15 content and still at least get something for it.
And it's emphasising that social element of it, the idea that if you want to go and play with friends who've just started an alt, but you don't want to switch over to an alt, you can go and do that. And you can carry on that. So, because I don't know about you, if I've had friends who've started alts, and I'm like, look, I want to carry on progressing my main character, so I'm sorry, I'm not going to come along with you on that because I've got to get this ready for a raid tonight or something. You could still go along and do that and still be having some progression and still having that social element of it while not being made to go and make another character to do it, so it's emphasizing that quality of it rather than the whole making your character better side, which just reflects the sort of whole ethos of the game, it seems.
Jesse, we didn't actually get to talk. I mean, I saw you on the TGN podcast with Biscuit and Mike B. I think was on there, and you guys talked a bit about Guild Wars 2, but I think that was prior to you being in beta, right?
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I know I'll get yelled at by Biscuit. TGS podcast. If you say TGN, he'll be like,
oh, sorry, TGS, TGN.
Yeah.
Sorry, slip up.
It's initials. No one cares. But yeah, no, I was in the beta and I enjoyed it. I just I had a few issues. That's all. But it was beta, so you're allowed to complain because that's what they want you to do.
Oh, what were some of those issues? No, seriously, what were some of those issues? A lot of people don't know. I'd love to talk about them.
I had major issues with questing, and it's. I think I tried to make the point, although not as eloquently as some people would have liked, where I said that to me, the questing wasn't what I thought it was going to be, and I felt like it had been promised to be something, and it turned out to be sort of like A-ish. I don't.
What does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean? Unpack that. You're just going like, it wasn't what I thought, but it's what I think.
Give you an example.
Like, if you're getting flack on the internet for it, God, I can't believe why you would get flack on the internet. But
flack on the internet?
It's amazing, right? I can't believe. But here's your chance. Like, say it more eloquently. We've got all the time in the world.
I will try. Okay. How to break this down? So basically, I'm trying to think of what the word is. It's not random. These quests are, gentlemen, help me out.
Linear?
Not linear. What's the word?
Dynamic.
I said random. Dynamic. Thank you. I said random because of my horrible limited vocabulary, and it was during a live stream, so I didn't even correct myself. But it's not random. It's dynamic. And so the dynamic questing, to me, going in, the way it was hyped in all the videos you saw leading up to the beta, was that it was this sort of crazy thing where you could be in a town, something could happen, and from there it'd just be like, got to go defeat this and come back, and maybe it'll help fix the town stuff. And essentially, at its base core, that's what it is. Like, we can't argue with that. That's kind of what it is. But to me, it felt like a really well done, redone version of questing as it already exists. So, for example, you'd walk into an area and you'd get a little thing that would show up on your screen that would be like, hey, kill 6 of these wolves, frost wolves, whatever. And you would go and you could do that. There was an NPC in the area, and if you walked up to the NPC, you could get the exact same quest. Mm-hmm. So it was kind of like you could kill these wolves if you wanted to. You didn't have to. You could move on, do whatever, and you could get the quest from this person or not. It didn't matter. But at its core, it was still you're killing 6 of these things, and that's what you had to do. And so I was like, all right, that's kind of fun. but then from there, what would happen is it would branch off into once you kill those, then the story would be like continue. And in some cases, like I know there's one quest in the Norn starting area where it's like worm eggs, and then you take the worm eggs back, and then they're gonna make like omelets out of the worm eggs. I think, I don't remember. And then the worms attack the hut, so you have to defend the hut. And that was kind of cool. But the problem that I had with all of that then is most of the time when you're questing, you run into stuff halfway through the event. And so if you're there for any type of story or lore, you miss like half of it. And so if that's what you're there for, you're missing that as well. And so the quest system it's good, it just isn't all it's promised. And that's what I think kind of like, I might not have said it as delicately, but during live stream I was like, what the hell's going on here? Like, seriously? And so I would kind of get like exacerbated. But
I gotta say that. But really quick, I mean, we're talking about a video game here, right? But I'm gonna talk about it like it's real life. But if you were to, but seriously, like if you were to get like, you know, this quest by like, you know, somebody gives you and sends you out on your journey, what are the chances of you like showing up right on time for like the show to start? Like you might just show up in the middle and like crazy stuff's happening, and it's like, oh, I may not get the whole picture.
There's a couple of...
Oh, no, go for it.
I'm sorry. There's a couple of things in what you said that I've heard a lot of people say, and more and more. At the start, I was very sort of like, well, people should just explore and find all this out. But there are like, for a start, the ones you described are called renown events, and they're not the dynamic events. The renown events are basically your basic sort of go and get some apples for that guy who's going to bake a pie or something, and you go and hand them in, and then that's the sort of like your sort of very basic, as close to questing as we'd understand in other MMOs. Those are those events, and they move things on. And then from there, those basic renown events are meant to put you in the areas where dynamic events are going to kick off, and other things are going to lead you on to that. Like if you hand in, say, the app, well, there's one of the examples where you got to go and get some meat or something. You hand it in, you give the guy the meat, and then you think, oh, all right, that's complete. And then if you actually follow that NPC, he goes on a big walk around, and then there's a good video to explain it, actually. And if you follow him, it actually leads to like various other events. Because what we're used to with questing is, like that heart fills is kind of like that question mark disappearing to us in our minds, the way we've been trained, I think. So when that's gone, it's like it's over. And then you'll see it repeated. Now, for a start, on the beta weekends, they'd increased the rate at which these events were repeating. So you've seen them like they were refreshing every 2 or 3 minutes.
Yeah, and I had a problem with that.
Servers.
I had a problem with that as well.
Yeah, and usually they don't. Usually, I think the minimum time's around 8 minutes. They say it should be for a refresh, and that's for like your most basic start level stuff. And then it goes up to like half an hour. And so what was happening was people going into it, and I'm finding more and more. I'm coming around, and I didn't want to say this, but I'm coming around to maybe coming up with some way of explaining how these events work a little in game, because if you want it, because there's a lot of aspects of these things that aren't obvious, and really you don't find them unless you really go looking for them. And especially with the way that those accelerated events were put up, it really just looks like, well, I saw that 3 minutes ago and it's just happening again. And I think that was one of the things that threw up a lot of miscomprehension, sort of like perceptions of what was going on. And also, it is difficult to really discover all of the things that can happen from those events. And so a lot of the times it looks like it's just exactly the same as basically a quest, but it's only if you like explore it and stay there for a while that you realize how much can actually go on branching off from that. And
that's the thing. I don't really know if I'm on board with saying I'm a fan of the idea of actually explaining it to you, because I mean, once you experience it once and you understand how they're sort of set up, you're gonna know how the rest of it, like, you're gonna be aware of it next time around. So.
I'm torn on this because Gary, I was like you. I'm very. It's like I don't want to know anything. I want to find it all out myself. I don't want anybody holding my hand, and I'm going to go and explore, and I'm going to find stuff, and great. But I just for it seems there's a lot of people who are having some trouble grasping a few of the concepts, like a lot of the concepts, and I think it might be just because we've only had a couple of like one like most people only had one weekend with this, and it's such an overwhelming game. The amount of stuff in it, you just hit the H button, and the amount is actually in that you might not even know. Like, how many people didn't know how to get into mists? How to get into, like, WVW?
I got in, I couldn't figure out how to get out.
Yeah.
I got in and I was like, how do I get out of this thing? I want to go. I got to leave. Somebody's at the door with my pizza. And I was like, I don't want to, and it took me forever. I had to log out.
It's all there, but it's you got to listen to it. And if basically it's getting to the level where people where you don't feel that actually that exploration is a barrier to enjoying stuff. Now, as I said, I think the very basic, the early level stuff certainly has that feel of it in the beta weekend. It was refreshing too quick. You were seeing the same things basically over and over. You walk in, you're halfway through, and then if you were passing 10 minutes later, you'd see basically the same thing halfway through. And I think that caused a lot of problems. It's supposed to be that it gets much more dramatic and much more world-changing later. And I don't think there's enough understanding of the distinction between renown events and dynamic events, because that's not clearly set out, I think, at times for people. But
I can agree with that. I would agree that the defining point between a dynamic event was, for me, clearly I mislabeled what dynamic was. But I think to say that we have that the people who weren't impressed over a certain period of time have like they just don't quite understand yet what's so great about the game. I don't want to. I almost feel like and this may just be me. I think I'm inherently getting tired of the MMO questing structure in general.
Yeah.
And I think perhaps what I'm seeing when I see these, intuitively, what's in the game is a step above and beyond what we have now. No argument there. I think everyone would agree it's good. But I think the idea of doing like the same types of quests and the same, like, it just after a while wears you down after years and years, because MMOs have not changed.
You're tired of Kill 10 Rats. You're tired.
I'm tired of that.
I'm tired of killing wolves and bringing back a pelt for you so I can get, like, you're a vending machine. Yeah, I completely agree.
Like, even the dynamic events, even the events where it was, and I actually did some of those now that I know specifically what they are. Even the dynamic events where it was like, this is going to be awesome. It's this huge epic battle that just started. This should be fun. 10 minutes into it, you're still killing another wave of guys coming at you, still with a giant cluster of people spamming the screen with all sorts of different particle effects and things like that. And it's fun initially. It's really cool, but 10 waves in, you're like, okay, like we invaded this castle. This is kind of awesome, but now just end it because I want to do other things. Like, I would love to go back to exploring.
Is it possibly just that you really though, but you're at a point where you're just really looking more for maybe like more of a sandbox kind of game where the content is actually created by the players and it's kind of, it changes and evolves naturally, but it's definitely not Guild Wars 2.
But even then, most sandbox games are so horribly structured that they have no content within them, and so sorry, Minecraft, sometimes fan-based games like can only go so far before you're like, well, that was kind of fun. Next, right? And MMOs, I think, are stuck. Even though Guild Wars is a leap above and beyond what we have now, I think inherently MMOs are stuck at sort of a plateau of this is what we can achieve. Where is the next step? And I think my hype was going into this game, and I think that's why I'm sort of a fool for thinking this. My hype going into this game was like, Guild Wars 2 is what that leap's going to be, and change, because if I was told anything, I was told that that's what it was going to be. I believed, and going into it, it was kind of let down. It was kind of like going to see the Phantom Menace at midnight, being super psyched that new Star Wars is coming out and leaving the theater in a state of depression.
Oh, don't say that.
Kind of like that for me.
Oh no, because I mean,
sorry, I went that far. I know it's not good. I went that far.
That's extreme. Because Phantom Menace was bloody awful, which was the main problem.
Okay, but it's an extreme example, but it gets to the point. I hope that
I see the quote now.
Yeah, I understand.
Guild Wars 2 is the Phantom Menace.
He wants to take that right away.
MMOs.
Of MMOs, Jesse Cox.
I 10 of 10. Then afterwards, 10 of 10. I think we're doing
Yeah,
Phantom
10 of
Menace
10.
MMOs. 10 of 10.
I think for a lot of people, I remember saying before the beta weekend, saying to people, it's still an MMO. Yeah. Don't pretend this isn't an MMO before we start. This is still an MMO. It's still got certain the familiar systems that are going to be inherent to MMOs as we understand them. But I think they're doing them in a way that is better than anything else they're on the market at the moment. Now, just a quick, the difference between a renown and a dynamic is basically a renown. When you're in the middle of it, you'll see the heart, and there'll be a yellow circle in the area within which that you get to do the things you need to do to contribute. And then a dynamic event, an orange circle will just appear on the map, and then whatever's happening will happen. That's the sort of visual indicator on the map. But still, you know, it's. I think within such a short sort amount of time, which the beta weekend. What I say about the game is this: in many games, a beta weekend is enough to tell you everything that you need to know about the game. And I think it's good that this is a game where you need more than a weekend to really understand a lot of the stuff that's going on. But what I'll say is this: I think anybody who says that somebody hasn't got the right to have an opinion on whether it's really for them or not, and then say it's just because you don't know, should shut up. Because if you just don't like something, that's perfectly okay. We don't have to be evangelists about this. You know what I mean? If it's I liked it, but you know, it's not really for me. Cool. Don't sit there for 20 minutes banging your head against the wall going, but you don't understand what it really means. If there's certain things you can help educate, you know, talk about, and well, this you can do this, try that. But if you don't like it at the end of the day, you don't like it. It's okay, guys. Calm down. It's all right. Because people have been going mental after this.
I would agree with that, except I think I'm sort of a convert to the religion of Guild Wars 2 PvP, because it's kind of the best thing in the world. Yes. And I feel like I should be preaching the gospel on it, because seriously, it to me, and I think we've established my like nerd cred for WoW, it reminds me of like 2007, 2006 in WoW, when PvP was actually enjoyable and not a rush to capture flags or like get to the other end of a field, right? It feels fun. It's lots of fun. It's intuitive. It's fast. And I know people were complaining about how like I saw a few. This wasn't a problem I had, but I saw people were mad about like there's only so many, like, oh, I only have 5 attacks. That's so stupid. To me, that's fine. I'm okay with that. You have the 5 and then 7, 8. Like that's fine, because I want to be able to run around like a crazy person and not have to be like, where am I going to use my farsight ability to? No, like just shoot them in the face with an arrow. I kind of like that. It's more fast-paced. I like the fast-paced. It's fast-paced without sacrificing the grandeur of a massive battle.
Sure, and
that
then
I think is missing from MMOs.
And then how awesome is it that you don't even have to like go and do the PvE stuff? Hey, max level, it's day 1, load it up, max level.
All in World vs. World.
All in World vs. World. Just play that. That's all you
and
gotta
gaining
do.
XP to hit really max level while you're doing it at the same time.
Yeah.
Well, you can't watch The Phantom Menace, but you can watch Phantasm 2 on Netflix. And boy, have we got a deal for you. Jesse, boy, have I got a deal for you, buddy. Go over to netflix.com/Gamebreaker TV for your free 30-day trial. Watch Phantasm 2. You can't watch The Phantom Menace, but we got Phantasm 2. We got Phantom, Requiem for a Phantom.
Who stars in Phantasm 2? Who's the actor who led that?
James
great
LeGros, Reggie Bannister, and Angus Scrim.
The Angus Scrim?
The Angus!
Wow.
Not Angus Scrim Jr.
That's a good one.
Angus Scrim.
That played on Sci-Fi at 2 a.m. one night. That was a 2 a.m. sci-fi movie.
Well, Danny Phantom.
Phantasm 2.
Danny Phantom actually looks pretty good. It's got 4 stars. 3 seasons. Seriously, if you guys have not checked out,
you guys have been.
What's that?
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was saying, Chacha said you have been segued.
You have been segued, sir, right into the Netflix.com/Gamebreaker TV free 30-day trial. If you've not signed up for the streaming service, go check it out. You stream a bunch of television shows, movies, everything that's up on there for your iPhone, iPad, your PS3, your Wii. You got a Wii, Jesse Cox? You got a Wii?
I actually, are we taking a break? Because I kind of do.
You've been hanging around Englishmen too much lately, I tell you.
Ba-dum-ba! All right, going over.
It's the best place to find really bad horror movies if you're ever really bored.
And
when videos are rendering, I sit there and watch like Leprechaun 1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh my God!
Leprechaun
I just
Space,
watched
Leprechaun 5.
I just watched like Leprechaun
good
3
movies.
or 4 like a couple months ago. It was like 2 months ago. It was on something. It was
Man.
I'm the leprechaun.
unbelievable. It's so bad.
Leprechaun in the Hood, quite possibly the best movie with a leprechaun who gets high on weed. I'm just saying. Don't do it, kids. But Leprechaun, hilarious.
There you go. Straight from Jesse Cox. All right, let's move on. We just got so much show to go. It's crazy. We haven't even started. What are we, 50 minutes? We haven't even started. All right, we got millions of questions here. Let's start up with just some viewer questions. So first up, this one in from James Reese. James says, what is the most difficult / interesting mob you guys have encountered so far? Wow, that's a tough one. I'm going to say, I'll go first. I'm going to say it was on my personal story when I was a char. I forget what he was, but it was another char in that enclosed area there from like my second or third part of the arc there, lower level. And I wiped like over and over and over. That was actually one of the most fun I had because I wiped like 6 times. Then I finally figured out. Yes, that's what I'm going to say. What about you, Scott?
The one that I saw with the most amount of corpses early on was the Flame Legion Shaman dynamic event. Bloody hell! It was just instant graveyard because he's got like his flame shield, and so even at range, whenever you hit it and he's got that up, you get damage to yourself. So there's just piles of people just killing themselves like in a slow and painful fashion and forming piles of bodies around it. It was fantastic. That was hilarious. For just for like looks, oddly in WVW, the Oaken Hearts that go roaming around that look like these wooden like gorillas with branches, the way they move, and so I think they look great. But for just sort of hilarity of corpse making, I'd say the Flame Legion Shaman in one of the early char dynamic events. That was hilarious.
Richie.
Well, since Scott took Flame Shaman,
Which apparently chat loves, by the way.
Yeah, do you know what's interesting is like everyone has played this already, so it's not going to be some big thing. But really, the first time that I created a Norn and got to the end of the tutorial, and that ice worm breaks out, and at level 1 you're fighting that thing, and
awesome.
And I was doing it with only like 2 other people because this wasn't this beta, it was a different beta, and it was really hard, and we kept having to like pick each other up. And when beating that at level 1, I really felt like I was in a raid and I beat a boss. So that's just epic. I love that. I love that worm.
Jesse?
I miss him.
I would have to say the greatest enemy was myself. At some point during the Norn storyline I had, which, by the way, I don't know if we'll talk about it later, but the character creation is kind of amazing. But so during the story portion, I had the option to do a bunch of different things, and I chose Become a Minotaur. Well, turns out that being a ranged character for several hours of gameplay, then switching to a melee class is like the most jarring experience of your life. And it sends you into an instanced area, and somewhere on my live stream channel exists like the 45 minutes of me swearing up a storm, losing my mind. Because you go in and you have to fight off these guys with the help of these other Minotaurs. They get killed real quick. And so you're just getting beat down. And then you keep going back in, your Minotaur companions do not get back up, and you just over and over, and eventually you kill all the guys who are in the area, and you're like, yes! And then another wave comes, you're like, no! And then it just keeps, it's the most painful experience. But then after it was over, I was like, I'm so glad I went through that. That was like, doing that felt good. Like I got through something. It felt really good. And then it went back to like, now I have a bow and arrow again, so okay, I'm good. Like, never doing that again.
Yeah. All right, next question from Julian Mujiniko. Julian says, how many of the events are really just, hey, good sir, could you help feed my cattle, or something other variety of event that is repeated through the world? I'm worried that many events or event types may become stale. I think this is what Jesse is a bit worried about as well.
Mm-hmm. Those are essentially the early levels. Those are the core quests that we're used to in other MMOs. They're your starting point within that vicinity. So you've got things like feed the cows, whip the cows with electroshock, prods, which I don't know why. I laughed my backside off when I was doing that.
It's
really
kind
funny.
of awesome.
Yeah, it is. So those are your basic ones, and then things like kind of develop outward from that in that area that you're doing them. There are plenty of those out there, especially at the lower levels. They're supposed to get more grandiose as you go along, but they're your core idea, and then things get more story-led at times, and more just sort of big and crazy from there.
Were they getting repetitive for you, Jesse?
I was only 2 zones in, so I can't even say they were getting repetitive because I don't know what repetitive is in relevance to the game. I think it was just the overall feeling of that I went in there, and that worm thing at the beginning of the Norn starting area was amazing. Like, off the bat, I think there's like 2 hours of footage of me being blown away by that, and then going into the I wandered off. Like, they don't really lead you in a direction. They just said meet with this person, but you don't have to. And so I sort of wandered off and ended up in a cave, and there was an event going on. I was like, I'll see if I can help. And I got owned, and then I saw the whole, like, I'm dead system. I was like, this is amazing. And then after I sort of figured out and sort of caught up what was going on and had like okay, I know what to do now, then it became, as you went from place to place to place, those were the quests you were finding. So that sort of naivety and going in there and just doing whatever the hell you wanted, I gotta say that's probably the approach you should have with the entire game.
Yep.
And
Yes.
don't follow the structure they tell you to go to, because then you'll get into that sort of, and now I gotta go do this for this guy, and this for this guy, and I go, I have to go to this shrine and talk to the raven, and then gotta go here and talk to the snow leopard, and just, I would say screw it.
Just
and
wander.
do whatever you want to do and wander around and have fun, because you'll enjoy it way more than just going the normal questing route.
That is exactly my experience as well. That's why I didn't feel the patterns, if there are patterns. I didn't feel them for the very same reason as I'm just like a wanderer and just kind of would do my own thing and stumble on stuff. Richie, did you start feeling any patterns at all anywhere?
Yeah, I mean, once you've spent enough time in it, you're going to see patterns. You're going to see, okay, this is an event with waves of mobs. This is an event where I need to pick up different things and stuff like that. So, I mean, you're not going to escape a pattern. And over time, you may, feel that gets a little bit old. But the thing that's going to be a little bit resilient in this is that, you can pick up environmental objects, and almost every time they replace a couple abilities on your hotbar, and they do hilarious things. Sometimes you eat them to get a buff. Sometimes you bash people on the head with them. Sometimes you throw them. It's really, that helps break things up, because there's an unlimited amount of things you can do with it. And as Scott said earlier, we're really seeing the early zones here, and they're getting you used to the game and the mechanics. And I really feel like once you start getting to level 20, 30, 40, 50, these events are going to be much different. They're going to be more branches to them. They're going to chain. I've seen some posts and stuff that people have written that once they get to some of the higher levels, like entire sections of the zone are completely overrun with monsters, and you have to kind of work together to try to figure out how to take these things back to spawn other events. So I think we're really still at the beginning of experiencing what this game has to offer. I could see ArenaNet just like cringing, just like, no, you haven't seen like 90%
Anything.
Yeah.
And they're like, just wait.
And I think what people should avoid is like, I think where you could really end up feeling like you're in a kind of a treadmill sort of scenario is if you just try and grind hearts, basically. Like if you go like, I gotta go do this heart and I gotta finish this heart, and then I gotta go to that heart and I gotta finish this heart, I gotta go to that heart. Don't do that. Like just don't do that, and like you just kind of do whatever. Like you get near one, go, I'll go do this, and then go do something else, because there's stuff all over to do. It's not really meant to just like hop from heart to heart to heart.
I think that's the strongest hold of especially if, like, from WoW, is that you're used to basically looking on your map and looking for symbols, and you go to them, and that's the problem. Is if you put up a map, if you're coming out with that mentality into Guild Wars 2, oh look, there's symbols on the map, that's where I have to go. And a lot of people went along with that and said, well, this is just, those symbols are just there, but they're not guides to where you go. That's where things are going to be, definitely, but that's not the only place they're going to be. You're going to be walking into stuff in what looks like the middle of nowhere. So I think that as I said, that MMO training that we've got from like virtually a decade of similar like game styles, is actually causing a little bit of friction with the game itself and the player, because we're doing things that are actually counterintuitive to the way the game's designed to be explored.
Well, that's part of the funny thing about this thing is, the game was designed, without a lot of these things in place to begin with. They didn't really have like the renowned hearts or the scouts, or even some of these things were put in because some of their early testing indicated that people would get into the world and they're like, okay, go explore, and they're kind of like, what do you mean? Like, where do I go? So they actually had to put these things in after the fact to kind of help lead people, because they didn't want people getting into the game and be totally lost. But Jesse's absolutely right. You jump into the game and you don't have to do any of that. Just explore, wander around, and the devs have said there are so many hidden nuggets in this game. You will find jumping puzzles, you will find hidden treasures, you will find bits of lore, all of which is not indicated anywhere on your map. Just go crazy, try to unlock all the secrets. It's gonna be really fun.
I think that's the problem that I had, is once I saw the map and saw that it had every location marked as explored or unexplored, it was like completionist mode activate, and I just went to those locations and did what I had to do and moved on. Mm-hmm. So even in major towns, once I walked into a major town, it was like, okay, there's here, and here I have to go to, and I just went off and did that. Yeah. Didn't really care much about what was happening, even though the major towns look gorgeous, by the way, but it wasn't much of a concern. It was like, all right, I got to get 3 more of these question marks, and then I have to find these points of interest, right? And so it's me wandering around, and unfortunately, we can sit here and say all day, don't go into this game like that, but I'm convinced a good portion of people will.
Oh, yeah.
Even without feeling like that. They'll be like, oh, no, I'll go into it, and I'll handle this, but it will just take over, because that's what happened to me, and it will just sort of take over, and it might ruin the experience, which would be a detriment to the game, I think.
I think some of that's okay, though. That's why some of it's there. That's why they put the hearts there, is to kind of lead you around. And I see chat rooms going, but if you don't do hearts, you're not going to level and things like that. But that's the point. You can bounce around, and you might find these little like ups and downs with the leveling system. But if you're not really looking to level, you just sort of find stuff, and you go, oh, I'll go do this. Anyway, I'm going to move on, because we got so many more questions to do. All right, next up from Aaron Aldridge. Aaron says, why doesn't Guild Wars have Guild Wars like Terra? Did a Terra fan just troll GuildCast? Is that legal?
Yeah, I think so.
Is it totally? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. But I mean, I'm not going to reciprocate on that. It's a short show.
Yeah, it is. All right. Has Reddit spoken at all about like putting an emphasis on actual Guild Wars?
No. I mean, it's interesting that this question comes up, because it's actually one of the things I really like about one of the features about Terra. I mean, I love the fact that you can just declare war on another guild, and then they all become flagged for PvP to you. I mean, that's a really cool mechanic. I'm not sure that would work really well with what they're trying to do with Guild Wars 2. They really want it to be community building, and they want you to take out all your aggression world versus world. It is interesting, though, that it's called Guild Wars. I mean, in Guild Wars 1, you were able to do guild versus guild battles, like an 8 versus 8, kind of like PvP. Attack on each other's guild halls and stuff like that. So far, we haven't had much information of what like that is going to carry in. The closest thing is in World versus World, a particular guild can actually claim a conquest. Like, if you take over a keep or a tower, your guild can actually claim that, and then your guild can assign certain bonuses that people around that keep get on your server. But, even that's kind of like stretching a little bit. You can see other people's guilds from other servers. You can see their guild tag, but that's about it so far.
Does anybody see? Go ahead.
So I was going to say, this isn't that. It just doesn't fit with the way the game's built.
Yeah.
It doesn't. There's a lot of. My favourite complaint over the beta weekend was, I couldn't find any world PvP. I was promised world PvP and I couldn't find any. It's like, I don't know who promised you this, but it's not there. The game is not structured for that. For people who love basically ganking while you're out questing, you just out of luck. This isn't that game.
Jesse Griefer Cox. He's a ganker.
No way. I am Jesse got griefed while trying to pick his herbs. All I want to do is pick my herbs. Why you got to be giving me trouble? That's my experience. So I'm perfectly fine with that. And the area they give you for World v World is just massive. You can gank enough people there all you want. Trust me.
And I got to imagine that's also going to expand, and we'll actually get possibly more world versus world areas to fight on and expansions and things like that. I can only imagine.
Now it's you doing that? It's not even released yet, Gary.
Where's the expansion? I've already finished all the content. Let's go. Let's move on. All right, next up from Austin Sinatra. Austin says, how much should we really expect ArenaNet to change based off the first beta weekend event? I don't know. Is ArenaNet supposed to change their shorts? Not sure. Not sure what they're going to change.
I mean, they've already talked about certainly tweaking certain things, about like perhaps making, you know, I don't know, making certain things, some things easier to get into, making the mobs more challenging, tweaking the experience. I think that'll be done. I think they need to maybe tweak the experience, gain a little in the early areas.
They're in the
feel
tweaky.
Forced to go after those hearts. So yeah, but it's just little things. I can't see massive change really at all. Maybe the pet AI might change. That would be good. Please.
I think people have sort of got a mistaken belief about what beta is now.
Yeah.
A long time ago, beta was fixing massive bugs and going through and giving feedback, and over the last few years, beta has essentially been, this is our final build, we're going to let you test it out and play it a little bit so you can go hype it up for us. That's what beta is now. Most game companies do that to sort of spread the word that this is coming out. So what you're seeing is, if not the very end, like 99.9% is complete and won't be changed. The things that will be changed are just minor tweaks to make it better and more fan compatible. So don't expect any massive, like next time you see it, it's going to be a completely different world.
And wait, this just in. Pandas are coming in Guild Wars 2 for the next beta event. Don't forget that.
The polar bears.
Polar bears.
It is not a joke. Pandas not a joke. Totally serious.
Yeah.
God, Gary.
All right, next up from Simon Harlow. Simon says, did you guys discover the option to automatically cast your ground-targeted AoEs where your mouse is? No, and why has no one thought of this in the MMO space before? League of Legends does it, and it's great. Why has this not been in more MMOs?
Yeah, it's in there.
I know it's in there. That's what I'm saying. Why has nobody thought of this before? Because it's great.
Yeah, it's an aggravation that a lot of casters have that is just, it's unnecessary. So it's actually kind of genius.
Yeah, it's in the option menu, fast cast ground targeting. I didn't actually discover it until after. I didn't know about it until after the beta, which seems to be a lot of things because there's so much. But yeah, this game really kind of needs it a lot too, because half the time, you know, especially in World versus World, there's so many spell effects going on. You can't even see your reticle, so you just need to point your mouse somewhere and click the button. Yeah, it's gonna be awesome.
You didn't personally like it, or did you like it?
I didn't know it existed. So I didn't get to try it.
Because I think what this does, I mean, it really kind of gives even more of an actiony combat feel to the whole like, you know, game. It's just a lot more fluid. I don't know. When I saw it, I was just like, how has nobody put this in a game before? Not oversight.
It's the whole combat, I think, is, if there's anything that I would call revolutionary, it wouldn't be the questing. It'd be sort of the combat system. It's much more fast-paced than anything I've been used to, and you can see over the 12 or so hours that I played the game, the like transition of standing still to slowly moving to now I'm like dodging like a fiend and getting out of the way. By the time you guys ganked me in World v World,
wait, what was that, Jesse? What was that? I didn't hear you.
Ganked and ruined my day. You made me cry a little bit.
I wasn't even
my
there.
Parents and be like, "Mommy, you wouldn't believe what these mean men did to me." By the time that happened, I actually was learning to play, and it's something that I think I think this whole game is sort of like a culture shock to people. So it's definitely worth picking up. I've said this before. It's definitely worth picking up just for the gameplay and PvP alone. I mean, it's stellar. It really is. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna make it my goal in life to find and kill you guys. Pretty much.
See, and I was just gonna offer that now that you've been on the GuildCast that we played together. See, I was gonna But it's like, I don't want to see
That's
you.
not as
you
much
guys.
fun.
I'd love to join you guys and give away all your movements to people on my other guild who are working against you. Yes.
Spy,
Cunning.
turncoat. All right, move on.
Why are we losing so
There's
much?
going to
I
be
don't
more
know.
of that.
Yeah.
Jesse's streaming. I don't know. All right, Josh Haygood. He says, is there any way for random people to see your full guild name, not just your tag? How will they ever see our extra clever and unique guild names if not? How do you guys feel about just a tag being shown as the primary public face of your guild? Is this confirmed that that's all that we're going to get to see, or do we know yet?
That's the way they did it in Guild Wars 1. Your guild tag was everything. And most guilds were known as their tag, not the actual guild name. I have every indication to believe that that's how it's going to be in Guild Wars 2 as well. That's how it's now.
And if you're going to be having your guild represented on all the other servers, those names are going to be in demand, aren't they?
Oh, yes.
Because I'm not sure how they'll handle that, to be honest. Unless it's just the fact that if you can't see each other's guild names, or I don't know how they're going to handle that. Because you can't have them on all of them. Are they unique? Global, or
I don't know if they're going to be unique or not. From server to server. Not
so
sure.
would it maybe like to do with your character name, where you get the the 4 digits at the end of it? Would it be the same with guild? So like if you go onto the server with got the same original home server with the same name, they'd have to have like numbers after it.
Oh, that would be kind of lame.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So it's either you think it'd either got to be the name would have to be either global, or you'd have some sort of distinguisher, depending on which server you're running around.
Well, you'd be the Green Invader, WAS, or you'd be the Blue Invader WAS. I don't know. Or yes, we were yes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
Jesse remembers all too well.
I remember very well.
I remember killing OMFG.
All right, next up, this one in from Mark F. Sindeldecker Jr. says, when looking at the info or stats on armor, do you think it was organized, looking, or messy? You guys find it to be messy?
The one thing I didn't like is, it's funny, like every piece of gear that has a slot available, it actually says the words unused upgrade slot on it. And like some other games would have like just a visual, like a gem socket that's empty and a gem socket that's full or something. I found it very distracting that every piece of gear, even my backpack, had upgrade slot available or unused upgrade slot. So I think they can clean up a lot if they just get rid of that. Other than that, I thought it was fine.
Less is more.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else think anything? What do you guys think?
It was pretty standard that you'd expect for the way that
That's what I thought.
gear would be
Didn't really,
stacked in MMOs.
Yeah.
didn't really stand
Yeah.
out to me at all.
No.
All right, next up, this one from David Grew. David says, how would you advise balancing playing the beta without spoiling too much of the game before it's released? I guess asking, did the game feel balanced? Did the game feel balanced?
No,
I guess
they're asking how do you play the beta without spoiling it for yourself when it comes to
Oh,
release?
don't even understand the question. Okay. Don't play.
The way you should play a beta if you don't want to spoil anything is think about what you want to play in live, pick the polar opposite of that, and play. That's literally the only way.
Yeah.
Other than that, you're just gonna ruin stuff for yourself.
Yeah. And go ahead, Scott.
Sorry, don't do personal quests, personal storylines.
Yeah.
Don't do those. Or if you do them, as Jesse said, do them on something you're not going to play. But that would limit it because there's the 5 choices of races, which we better get soon. I want to see the other 2 choices. You can do that, but also remember it depends on how much. If you don't want to see anything, then it's going to be difficult. You're just going to be sticking to certain content. Go into WVW all weekend. There you go.
There you go.
Yeah, you just stick to PvP. If you don't want to spoil your story or the PvE experience, just stick to PvP.
Just make sure you join the Gamebreaker side, or you'll be on the losing side. All right, next up, James Johnson asks, with personal story, do you guys think starting your character out as already heroic was the right move in ArenaNet's part, or should they have had the story build up slower over time? We talked a bit about this, and I loved how the game just jumps off going 1,000,000 miles an hour, and I was doing stuff that felt awesome. Like just super fast. I think that's the way all games should start. It's like, I don't want this like slow build. Like I want to know really quickly in the first like 10 minutes and I'm fighting a giant worm and this is great. And I feel like I'm gonna raid. I felt great. I felt great, Jesse. I felt great.
Yeah, I agree. It feels great, and I like that you aren't, Joe Blow, the farmer's son, who now is a hero. But at the same time, you're this epic hero who everyone in town respects, and you're still collecting worm eggs, right? It's like, do you know who I am? Collect your own damn worm eggs. Give me your money and help me go fight these guys. Right? But it's an MMO, so you can't have everything you want. But still, at the same time, it kind of felt ridiculous every so often.
I don't know. A true hero doesn't discount the mundane things in life.
I am not a true hero.
A true hero.
Scoundrel.
You're too good for that. You're too good for this. You Gabe. You're just like, bah! Screw you and your eggs. Die, vermin.
Just give me your money.
Just give me your money.
I think it's vital that they have something big at the start, so you can expect big things through the game. Because if not, again, we talk about this other MMO mentality that we're used to, not getting to see big things until you max level most of the time. So giving you something big early says, all bets are off. You're like, get to level 15 and see the Shadow Behemoth and, see how that goes. And those things are out there, so you can go looking for that. Whereas perhaps if you hadn't got something big happening like that at the start, even though, let's face it, it's a newbie learning event, it's not really a raid. It really is, but it's a brilliant one. It looks fantastic and it feels epic. But those sort of events, having that early, make sure that you're not going into it with the mentality of this is all there's going to be now until I hit level 80.
Somebody in chat room actually just brought up a really good point. Derail. Does anybody know if you could fail that first event, like the worm or something? Like, is that just like a script?
You can't.
You can't. You just totally can't even.
You can't. If you're downed and don't get back up, the NPCs finish it off for you anyway. So it felt epic, but really you could have laid down and it had finished it.
Quick time cutscene. Quick time cutscene. Why am I playing a quick time cutscene? Fail. Fail. Richie, thoughts? Being a hero?
I would rather right off the bat jump against this gigantic earth elemental thing that comes out of the ground and kill 10 rats. That's I actually see Jesse's point a little bit in terms of because sometimes it's cool to be the unsung hero and feel like you're building up and stuff like that. But yeah, I like that they give you a preview right away that this game is just going to be epic all the way through. You don't have to slog through anything boring or mundane to get to the good stuff.
But the problem then is that your expectations are so high that because you were saying giant worm coming out of the ground, that thing looks cool, the whole scene's cool, it like moves around, and it even has like a sort of great intro where it breathes ice on your screen and your computer screen cracks, which is just badass. But the thing then is then after that you're waiting for that next experience and it doesn't come for a while, so you sort of have to have that. Sure. It will happen, but it's not going to happen right away. And I think for me, it was just like,
that was true.
When is right? And it was just more of the same. And I guess I want to see more of that. I think what I'm saying is I want to be level 80 already. Just start me at level 80 so I can kill giant dragons and things.
Oh, you are dub.
That's true.
Jesse Cox, so he wants more egg collecting. That's his call out.
Only egg collecting. That's it. Every quest is egg collecting. Chickens, worms, moths.
Maybe
it's an omelet of every variety.
Snake.
Oh, omelet making would be perfect. Yeah. Last question from Charlotte Young. Charlotte says, "When is the next Guild Wars 2 beta?" Hang on, let me look into my crystal ball. I don't know.
Time is it?
Who the heck knows?
I'm getting less and less confident that it's going to be May.
Yeah, actually, you should. Why do you think that we were talking about that today? The tweets that are coming out of the Guild Wars ArenaNet camp seem to be a little bit more
hedging the bets a
Yeah.
little. Yeah, it just feels like it was, we're aiming at every month, and it will be roughly every month. And I think the original post was very sort of like there were a lot of backdoors in what they said. That it definitely wasn't going to be. They didn't say it's going to be every month. We're going to aim at that. It could be. That's subject to change. So it's certainly possible that that we're going to. I'm really hoping if it's not this month, I'm going to be really fed up because I'm going to be bored some weekends this month. But hopefully it'll be this month, but I wouldn't guarantee everybody to set aside, like, if you work on the weekends, don't start picking weekends out just yet.
And
do we know if they're going to have a presence at E3? I would almost say it would be the week before or after that, because
I don't think anything's been announced.
Build up to, either build up to E3 or announcements there, and then here's the beta. Enjoy the week out. Like, that seems like a very PR kind of thing to do. So I mean, I don't know, but just a guess.
Hopefully we'll hear something. Hopefully we'll hear something soon, though, because I know they must be fed up at ArenaNet of tweets, Facebook's messages, emails. When is it out? Tell me. I'm getting withdrawal.
Jesse, his call out to ArenaNet is for ArenaNet to be at E3 and have an egg hunting contest. He cannot wait.
That's true. I'll be there. I demand eggs.
He demands eggs.
In fact, just bring a carton and just give them to me. That sounds like a better quest. Like, I show up and I get a carton of eggs. The end.
The end.
Isn't that what E3 stands for? Egg 3.
Egg 3. Jesse Cox, follow him at the Twitter at Jesse Cox. That's JESSECOX. If you try and search your name, you find some interesting people on the Twitter.
Let's
you
just
spell
say,
it a little wrong. Like a letter?
Yeah, since I started doing this, there may be a person of questionable ethics who may or may not be in an industry of questionable ethics who has taken my name.
Yeah.
So thank you to her.
And where do they find you, sir, on the YouTube?
OMFGCATA. That's it, on the YouTubes. We just hit 300,000 subscribers this week, so...
Wow.
You are insane, awesome. Bro. And you're very...
Oh, stop it. I'm no Gary.
Yeah, you're welcome. Anytime on the GuildCast, whenever you want.
Thank you for having
legendary.
me. It was a pleasure.
Richie Procopio, follow him on Twitter at Richie Procopio. And, of course, go to massively.com and check out his awesome work over there. Pleasure as always, sir.
Thank you.
And Mr. Scott Hawks, you can follow him at Jarimor, JARIMOR. And I don't know. I guess you could see his work in Gamebreaker every day, just behind the scenes work, but it's there. So
yes, you'll see my fingers, my mucky fingerprints are all over everything.
I've given up.
I'm going to be. There's videos coming soon. I've got about 5 videos that once I finish editing them to the point of them being not 3 hours long, you'll see them, including that Sunday night WVW. I've got all of that, so that'll be coming out soon. So that's something to look forward to.
And you can follow me on the Twitter at Gary Gannon. I've given up my floor third because I'm a complete advertising whore. It's now netflix.com/GamebreakerTV for a free 30-day trial. That's where you can follow me, Jesse, Richie. You can follow my dog Sophie there as well. No, seriously, go sign up for the free 30-day trial. Supports Gamebreaker TV, and we do the show live every single Tuesday right here at 6 PDT. We'll be back again next week. I think Elizabeth is back with us next week. For all you boys swooning, calm down. She'll be back.
I tried.
He tried. He did.
Always shows so much cleavage. Come on.
There you go.
Come on.
Come on. Come on.
Come on.
Come on. Guys, have a great week. We'll see you next week.